Welcome to the third episode of Bitcoin and Blockchain. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and blockchain consensus. So what do we know so far? So in the previous two videos, the first one, what is Bitcoin and blockchain? We talked about how Bitcoin network works and how blockchain systems work as well. And then in the second video, we talked about Bitcoin and blockchain provenance. So how we talked about how we can track transactions and goods using Bitcoin and blockchain systems. So we know that Bitcoin is a public ledger, a database of transactions where you cannot delete or edit any transactions or data. You can only add new transactions. So if you missed out anything on these last two videos and you don't know what I'm talking about, please make sure to check them out and then come see this video afterwards. It'll make a lot more sense. So now we're going to talk about consensus. So what is consensus? The definition of consensus means general agreement. In this example statement here, it says, there is a growing consensus that the current government regime has failed. Synonyms for consensus mean agreement, harmony, or like-mindedness. So we must all agree on what is truth and come to a consensus. Consensus is a very, very important feature of blockchain. So we have consensus in the Bitcoin blockchain. So the network of nodes must decide if a new transaction makes sense. So this here represents Bitcoin nodes here, all connected to each other here. There's only 6, but we'll pretend there's thousands or hundreds of thousands. So all these nodes here, they all must come to agreement. So when a transaction is confirmed, or when a transaction is broadcasted and from someone sending a transaction, it gets propagated throughout all these nodes, and they must decide if this makes sense. So when these nodes verify a transaction and say that it makes sense, we can say that they've achieved consensus. So consensus via decentralization. So when a decision on the Bitcoin network is made, there's several parties involved, several parties or nodes involved. It's not just one central party. It's not just one person that has one say. Everyone here, like in this photo, they all must give the thumbs up. They all must agree. So for an example, like Apple company, they decide what the new iPhone will be. They decide what the features this new iPhone will have, what it will look like, how much it will be priced at, when it will be released. And that's made by that company. That's that company's decision. But in the Bitcoin network, there's a global consensus. It's several parties. All the nodes are involved. All the decisions are made in one mind. So all the decisions made on the Bitcoin network, what to include into the blockchain, what to ignore, they're all made together. They're all made in one mind. That's consensus there. All the information is double checked, and all the decisions are made by consensus. So some consensus examples we have. In Bitcoin, we check the public ledger. So if a person sending transaction has enough funds, or UTXOs, which are unspent transaction outputs, that's what UTXO stands for, which is essentially just the amount of funds that a person can spend. UTXO is just think about a bank account and the amount of funds you have in your bank account. UTXO is just the amount of funds you have in your Bitcoin wallet. So if the person sending transaction has enough funds or UTXOs, the nodes accept the transaction and add it to the blockchain. For an example with provenance, in order to track the history of anything, history of transactions or history of a product or good, we also need consensus as well. Provenance does not work without consensus. So this example here will have a resume from John Smith, and we pretend this is a digital resume that is connected to the blockchain. And it has John Smith's experiences here. He says he was an air pilot for 5 years, worked as a pilot at XYZ airport, reference Captain Mark Jacobson. And then it also says he was a brain surgeon, worked as a brain surgeon at ABC Hospital and saved 100 lives, and reference Dr. Gregory House. With this resume here, if it's linked to the blockchain, you have provenance and consensus all together here, because you have provenance consensus can be achieved with these verification digital signature hashes here. So whenever John started at this airport as a pilot here, he would have to get a signature from the airport, a digital signature from the airport verifying that he worked at this airport here for 5 years, and he would also have to get a digital signature from Captain Mark Jacobson as well, that he worked as a pilot at this airport for 5 years, and that would have to be digitally verified too. And these digital signatures, if you click on them, they can maybe redirect to another part on the blockchain where there's a published document showing his starting at this airport, and when the first day he started, how long he's worked there, what his jobs consisted of, and they would be signed by a series of people and staff and that worked at these airports, so it could be digitally verified. Same with the brain surgeon as well. So when he worked as a brain surgeon, he would have to get a digital signature verification from the hospital that he worked at. You can get a signature saying that he did save 100 lives and have that verified, and he would have to get a digital signature from Dr. Gregory House as well. And this is all consensus. All these people here that are verifying him, it's not just one person saying that he worked at this airport or that he worked at this hospital. It's a series of different entities, of the hospital people, a series of different entities and different people that can back up John Smith and say, yeah, this guy is actually excellent. He worked here and here and here and here. So this really removes, this can really help telling the truth. It removes the good thing about the important thing about consensus is that it removes trust. So you don't just have to trust. You don't have to just trust John Smith that everything he says on his resume is true. And we all know that about there's at least 10% or 15, 20% on everyone's resume that's a complete bullshit. So with by implementing digital resumes that are connected to the blockchain, they need consensus and provenance to verify these resumes. You can know that it removes the trust not just from your word of mouth, but it's also backed up by everyone, by all these different entities and people as well. So it's better on your part too. So you have that it gives you a greater it gives you a higher ranking too, and it saves the people, your employers, the hassle of having to call them up and call your previous employers up and ask if you're a good employee or not. So this is actually very powerful, and we are seeing things like this being created today. So now we're going to talk about Bitcoin consensus. So in Bitcoin, you can mathematically prove a model works. So it's here we have this will represent the Bitcoin network here, all nodes connected. So it's practically impossible to cheat with with decentralized network of computers constantly verifying. So with all these nodes talking to each other all the time, these nodes are always they're all connected to each other in one way, shape, or form. They're always talking, always verifying. It's going to make it very, very hard and practically impossible to cheat and falsify any transactions when all these guys are checking, constantly double checking, triple checking the network. And all these guys will talk together and verify and come to a consensus together in one mind. So now we're gonna ask the question is, why should these nodes play by the rules? Why are they such goody two shoes? Why are they always telling the truth? Why should they always tell the truth? What's the point? And the answer to that question is that consensus by these nodes, they tell the truth because they are financially incentivized to. So these nodes here are all financially incentivized to tell the truth at all times, and they get paid in Bitcoin, they get paid in money. So, and it's also a lot harder to tell a lie, to give false information and try to make that work than to tell the truth. It's much, much, much easier to tell the truth and to verify proper transactions and not to do any shady business, and you get paid for it. So why tell me, why would I try to chisel a glass sculpture and get paid $20, or just scrub the floor for 10 minutes and get paid $20? It's the same kind of thing here, is that it's you get paid money to do an easier job, and the easier job is telling the truth. So that's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin does provide a financial incentive, and it unites the world, because the world, one of the, if not the most, if one of not the most thing that unites all people in the world is money. We all want money. We all need money to survive, to pay bills, pay groceries, to buy nice things, to buy fancy cars. We all want money. Everyone needs money to survive. Everyone wants it. And Bitcoin provides that. Bitcoin provides money and unites the world, and unites the world that way. So, and that's how and it's easy. All you have to do is set up a computer on a node and verify transactions and mine them, and you can get paid Bitcoin by telling the truth and by contributing to the network. But we're going to talk more about Bitcoin mining and how transactions get sent and mined and propagated throughout the network, and we'll talk more about that in more detail in future videos anyway. So, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, to subscribe, share with friends and family, hit the bell button for notifications, and please leave me suggestions and comments about this video or previous videos. What would you like to see? What kind of videos you would like to see? Where I should improve? How can I make this more interesting for you guys? And the next video that will be coming out very shortly is about Bitcoin and blockchain security. Thank you very much.